All right. Welcome everybody to the June Dover Trails and Recreation Committee meeting. Call the meeting to order at 6:33. There's Sarah Shippey. Okay, I'm just going to let her join and then I will continue. I think she's good. All right, she's good. Okay. Any public comments tonight? Oh, Kristen's back. Any public comments?
No.
All right, seeing none, we will move along. Any additions or changes to the agenda this evening? No. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to welcome our new committee member who was appointed by the Dover Select Board, David Yeagle from Mount Snow / VIII. So welcome, David. Thanks for joining us. And if you have any questions about anything we talk about, feel free to reach out and I'll get you caught up. Okay. All
Sounds
right.
good. Thank you.
No problem. Let's see. Okay. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the April 12th meeting. Anyone? Bueller.
I wasn't there, so I don't know if I can do it.
I will move to approve the minutes then.
Can he do that?
Am I allowed to do that?
I don't think so, because you were technically.
Because I wasn't actually.
I need Sarah for that. I think technically no.
Then I'll stand back.
Was I there? Can't even remember.
No. And you know, I can't open them right now.
The money back to your credit card.
Okay, hang on 1 second, John.
Finalize your move.
What do you need me for? I
Just-
think,
Motion to approve the minutes.
John, hang on 1 second. I'm sorry, what do you need me to vote on it? Oh,
Just a motion
vote on
to
minutes?
approve the minutes.
Yeah, make
So
a motion.
moved.
Thank you. Second.
Perfect. Who wants to second that?
I'll second.
Matt
you, Matt.
seconds. All in favor?
Me.
Aye.
Thank
All right.
you.
Okay. We good? We're good, right? Wow, that was a disaster. Okay. Moving right along. Since we missed our May meeting rather, due to a lack of a quorum, it was brought to our attention that we should be discussing the idea of allowing a proxy voter for our organizations to attend meetings. So the way I have it worded in the charge, let me see if I can pull it up and I'll read you what I wrote. And if it doesn't make sense to you, then you can tell me and I'll change it. Sorry, I should have had this part pulled up. Okay, so it says, the change says, oh, and I also removed the part from the charge just so everybody knows about electing a chair, since we decided to go with me as a moderator as opposed to a chair, vice chair, secretary type of setup. So the new charge states proxy representation. There's Patricia. Hi, Patricia. Should a group or organization's representative not be available to attend a monthly meeting, a proxy can be sent in their place with the ability to cast a vote on behalf of the group or organization. In order for proxy representation to be established, notice in writing of proxy must be provided to the moderator at least 12 hours in advance of the meeting. Please note, proxy representation is allowable only to groups, organizations who hold an open seat on the committee. Proxy representation is not allowable for any individual held seat, i.e. business owner or Dover resident seats. Any questions, comments, concerns about the way that that's written or expressed?
Mike Garber, I have a question.
Sure.
So if I'm the proxy 12 hours before the meeting, do I stay the proxy for all continuing meetings going forward?
I hadn't really thought of that. I was mainly just trying to make sure that we had a quorum for our monthly meetings. I think as far as any representation change on a full-time basis would need to go in front of the select board, just as it did with Stump Jumpers or Mount Snow. I think the proxy is literally just to ensure that we would have quorum for that upcoming meeting. In my head anyway, if you guys would like to see it written differently, I can explore that. I would rather keep the system we have. That if you're going to change your representative for more than one meeting, then that needs to be something approved by the select board.
We're not talking about a full-time change though. We're just saying that you have a full-time substitute. So you don't have to worry about that 12-hour window. Just something to think about.
Right, but then I would need like,
So
okay, so say Matt couldn't make it to a meeting, okay? He knows he can't make it to a meeting, so he says, I'm gonna make the legendary Mike Garber our proxy for this upcoming meeting, okay? I have that in writing 12 hours in advance. So when we come into the meeting, that means that you have that voting right. If Matt happens to show up, like, there's still only one vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not.
We get it. And Matt
Right.
is always the vote if he attends.
Okay.
But if he doesn't attend, why should he have to call 12 hours before, this month, and then 3 months down the road, and then 2 months after that, whatever the emergency might be.
Okay. All right. I see what you're saying. So
Eric.
if you establish a proxy now,
Eric,
can they be the proxy later on? Shannon, thoughts?
so instead of a proxy, it would be like DB Fiber. We have one voting member and then there are alternates
Alternates.
that are
Okay.
approved by the select board. So that person can always vote in the other person's absence without any other like warning or notice. So it's
Okay.
just two different, a proxy is a one-time thing. An alternate is a standing person appointed.
Okay,
by
so
the board.
definitely looking
So
for
that's the
feedback
difference.
from the whole group, obviously, which route you would want to go, whether it be proxy or alternate. But we need to pick one or the other. I think it's going to get too confusing. I think if we try to go with a bunch of different rules as to how this can happen. So Mike, you're looking for more of an alternate type of situation, I take it, like you just suggested?
I think that's easier for everybody.
Okay, David,
Long time.
as a member of one of these organizations, how do you feel?
I mean, personally, I prefer to do it one-off, single at a time, because I wouldn't necessarily know who would be available on any given, like there isn't somebody who I would be able to say, hey, that person's going to always be able to fill in for me if I'm not able to be there. So for me, from my perspective, it's easy enough to just say, hey, I need a proxy for tomorrow or for, next week or whatever it is. That's from my perspective and where we're at, that's an easier and simpler solution.
Awesome.
But I can
Thank
see
you.
why there might be differing views on that.
Okay. Tommy, for SoVTA.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. If I always make the quorum, maybe alternate that Mike's talking about might, for me personally, work better. But
Okay.
I don't know which one would be better for the whole group.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Anybody
either
else?
way-
Oh,
either
Matt.
way, for me, I mean, an alternate might be easier if something does come up at the last minute.
Okay.
I guess are we talking about trying to, I don't know if it matters that much, but I guess the question is, are we talking about trying to maintain a quorum or trying to maintain individual votes because I think if we're talking about trying to maintain a quorum, the proxy is more than sufficient. If we're talking about like more generally we need to make sure that every person or organization maintains their vote. I think the alternates probably makes more sense from that perspective. It just depends on where we're coming at it from.
Okay. Okay. Tommy, Tommy, your hand's up?
Yeah. I think the chances of us all slim to none. So that'll just continue to be a challenge, you know, for the group as a whole.
Yeah.
If we're not letting people know, you know, a week ahead of time or when the final agenda comes out that, hey, I can't make this one. You know.
Yeah, and that's typically what we've been doing up to this point. It's just because we only meet once a month, I'd like to try to get those meetings in. So if I'm wrong and you guys want to use both, my concern was going with both a proxy and an alternate is that it becomes like cumbersome and like hard to figure out. But if you guys think I'm wrong, you're the committee, not me. So. Sarah, did you have any, Patricia?
So if the alternate route went, I mean, I wouldn't be able to be in this because I'm a business owner, but it seems like the alternate way would be those of us on the committee getting to know someone else also. I mean, I don't know if that matters really, but because they would just be voting in the favor. I guess what I was formulating is us, getting to know someone else, but
yeah, no, I understand that. I feel like we're
anyway, so.
Yeah, I feel like we as a group have been adapting pretty quickly to new members, and able to, integrate new members as they've come and gone. So I'm not as concerned there.
Yeah. As I said,
Sarah, did you have any thoughts here, like, about using a proxy and an alternate or one versus the other?
Were you talking to me?
Yeah,
I
sorry.
apologize. I literally have 2 meetings going on.
Oh, okay.
So I apologize. I think however each individual organization wishes to arrange it, either as an alternate or that they can submit a proxy vote and they can choose who they want to give that proxy to.
Okay.
They could give proxy votes to you if there's specific items on the agenda that they know they're going to want to vote on. Yep. And they know how they're going to vote. Or they could send an alternate, but I think we can trust each individual organization to decide what works best for them.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, do we need approval from the select board on alternate appointees?
They're not permanent changes, right?
No.
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I think we could inform the select board.
Okay.
Without having to get approval, because we're not actually changing the representation. We're just, we're giving people the flexibility to send somebody else in their stead occasionally.
Okay. So given the feedback, why don't, and I thank you, Sarah, for weighing in.
Sorry,
yes,
let me just
Sarah,
say one more thing. If I am wrong, we're going to have select board meetings before we have our next trails meeting. So we can fix it in the select board meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So, given everybody's feedback, why don't we go with that route and say, if you'd like to have a written, like an appointment for an alternate made, please have your committee seat holder submit that to me in writing. Okay. And if you would like to, if you would like to have a proxy come in your place with that 12-hour notice, we can be doing that as well. I would just need that in writing. And I will check with the select board on Tuesday just to make sure that we don't need approval of any of those alternate appointments. Okay, does that work for everybody? So I see nods or something.
Yes.
Okay, David, thank you.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. Okay, so I will report back on that. So just some updates on things that we had talked about previously, okay? And I will start with in the May meeting, or no, sorry, we didn't have a May meeting. In the April meeting, we were joined by our friend Trip Morris, who came to talk to us about his ideas for a pickleball / recreation area on Route 100. He did submit his initial questionnaire and outline and preliminary information to me. I took a look at it. We talked about any permitting that might be necessary and found none. So now he is clawing on to points 3 and 4 of the process to put together that comprehensive work plan and a detailed budget. He did give us a rough estimate of costs, but obviously a lot of those will be honed down as he goes through the budget work. So once he has that full proposal with the work plan, the full comprehensive work plan and the budget put together, you know, I will absolutely put that in front of you. He did request, however, that I give you a glimpse of what it is that he's thinking. So I am going to share my screen momentarily. Can everybody see that? Anyone? Yeah, Patricia. Okay, perfect. So basically the top of your screen is Route 100. To the left, you have OMT. So basically picture it as you're standing on Horace Hill and looking out towards Route 100. This is kind of the setup. So obviously P-ball 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are pickleball courts. To the east of that, you have Cam Jam and a game called Cub. There's spike ball. V-ball 1, 2, 3, 4 are fully dug out and filled back in with sand, professional grade volleyball courts. Tennis and basketball to the north, lawn bowling, horseshoes, gaga ball, badminton, and tetherball. And then also keeping in mind that 18th on cornhole down there, but keeping in mind that 18th hole of disc golf that we've previously discussed would also be somewhere down in this area as well. So, you know, obviously none of this is set in stone. He just wanted me to give you an idea of what it is that he was initially thinking. So he should have a pretty solid plan for us together. I'm hoping for next month's meeting for us to discuss. And if you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me and I can relay those questions to Trip. Okay. Any questions on that right at the moment? No. All right.
Wait, Eric. I'll throw it out there. Just where's the parking for that area?
So there's already parking literally right next to that. That's been, you know, kind of not granted to us, but we've been allowed to use from Rich Kaplan. You know, just south of those tennis courts.
And how many spots do we think that parking area can hold? I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, no, I appreciate the question.
10, 12, 14.
I'd
6,
say
right?
what? No, it's not. I would say like 15, probably, maybe more.
Okay.
I mean, parked appropriately.
Yeah.
You know, it's a stone parking lot, so you know all bets are off, obviously. But that's going to be the case anywhere. There would also be additional parking in the lot that he's granted us permission to use behind Overforge OMT. That gets used as overflow for the Dover Park. So I would not, you know, with all the amazing things that Trip has talked about putting in there, I could definitely see how there would be lots of interest in using the property. But I don't know that we would have so much of an influx all at once that we wouldn't be able to accommodate the parking for the property.
When I hear volleyball, I know that could be a main attraction, and you know,
I'm looking.
4 teams.
I just quickly pulled up the satellite view of that area.
Yeah.
And just doing a quick count. There's some cars parked in the picture there. Just doing a quick count. There's at least 20 spots in that main lot there.
Yep.
Not counting around and back.
Yep.
Just
awesome. Thank you, David. So yeah, I think we're, you know, parking wise, we would be okay. Again, there's a lot of questions to be answered about this thing. So it's all very tentative at this time. I'm gonna go Kristen and then Sarah.
Mine was just a comment. Trip had kind of run some of this by me. I think there's property owners who are willing to expand their parking as well. So Rich is just one of them. And then there's somebody else on the south side. So I think that's been part of the plan as he's gone along.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Sarah?
I would just, if he's, if one of the things that Trip is looking at is bringing the Sitzmark volleyball out from there over, I think Michael's right that volleyball is going to bring a lot of cars, and they're not, and people run on multiple games a night, and there's a lot of overlap. So it would probably be something that Trip should investigate in terms of how many cars are typical at the Sitzmark for volleyball, and how, you know, what kind of turnover there is, like, because it's not like everybody's going to leave and then the next group is going to come in. There's going to be overlap.
Yep.
So I would ask Trip to get that information for us.
Yeah, I know that he did go down to meet with the folks at the Sitzmark volleyball, but I will absolutely make sure that he investigates that and has an answer for that type of question for the group. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on, just, again, that's very you know, that's a very rough estimation of, you know, what could be going there, and obviously it'll be broken out into different phases and things as well, you know, of completion. So it's not like boom, all of those things would be there all at once. You know, I think he has plans to kind of do pieces of it each year over, you know, 1 to 3 years. So you know, again, that will all be kind of detailed out in that comprehensive work plan. And again, any other questions that you happen to think of, just reach out to me. I'm happy to, you know, if I can't answer them, then I will reach out to Trip and get answers for you. Okay. Now that we are through kind of the town meeting busy season here, we will be going out to install our trail counters. Right now, the plan is to have one at the town forest, one at Horace Hill, and one on the Green Iron Bridge on the Valley Trail. And then we will be, you know, the fourth counter. Did I say counter the first time? I've been working really hard on that to not say camera. So the counter will be kind of floating, and then during the summer months focused on, say, you know, a Hathaway Trail or another piece like that, and during the winter months, you know, focused on you know, some of the busier snowmobile trails, so that we can try to collect some data from there. But those three, the one at the town forest, the one on Horace Hill, and the one on the Green Iron Bridge, are definitely going to be more permanent fixtures, so we can start collecting that data year round. Okay, any questions on that? No, perfect. Dover Town Forest name change implementation. So the first recommendation that you guys made and got approved by the select board is in the process of happening. So our amazing road commissioner found a very gorgeous boulder. It's white, you know, quartzy looking. It's absolutely massive and has a nice big flat face on one side for us to put a nice commemorative plaque for Phil on that boulder. So he is going to work on getting that moved up into a location in the parking lot that does not impede any parking that's there already. And you know, in conjunction with finishing the expansion of that parking lot, you know, we'll get that rock up there. I do have some members of the community, as well as Phil's family, working on what information they would like to see on that plaque. So we'll have more on that here shortly, and then we'll get some more signage up there that, you know, denotes the new name. Okay, so if anybody has any thoughts or input on that process as it's going on, by all means, please reach out to me. I'm happy to pull you in. Okay, any questions on that? No. All right, perfect. Garber, did you have any updates on Hathaway Trail repairs?
So the only update I have is that we will not start our work up there until mid-September, October.
Okay.
So we'll look for input for anyone that lives close or anyone that sees anything as far as four-wheel drive traffic from now
Okay.
until then.
Okay. I did receive a phone, and we'll cover this. I'll save that comment for later on in the meeting here. Okay. All right. Any questions for Mike on Hathaway? Patricia.
So I have met you. Are you the Southern? Oh wait, David Southern Beachy. I just went up that trail to see what everything was because I'd never even seen that, and it's really ripped up. And so I know we had all discussed who would be not responsible, but who was going to be the people that would be doing repairs there. So that's a definite thing in September, October, or?
Well, the way this was presented to us, the repairs that Mike was talking about are more similar to the repairs that have been being made along the other snowmobile trails in Dover, which was, widening and cutting and some things like that. Mike, can you elaborate for me?
No, actually, the main focus of us coming in is to regrade the trails, is to come in with an excavator, smooth them out, make it so the water damage does not run down the trails, it runs off the trails. So it's really not about widening and cutting. It's more about the integrity of the trail.
Okay.
And when we talk about integrity, it's integrity for hikers, bikers, the snowmobilers. It's really the four-wheel drive traffic that ruts those trails up and destroys the water flow of those trails.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to have a much larger conversation. Hold on, Mark. Hold on. I don't want to dive into this yet because it is on the agenda here later on. So I don't want to skip over all this other stuff and dive into this potentially super contentious conversation. Okay.
I was just going to offer Michael assistance.
Okay. Awesome.
With my tractor and some equipment I have up here.
Okay. Awesome.
The rest of it I'll save for later.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Okay. Valley Trail A-, still putting along here. So we did get a DOT approved easement back to give to the owners of One Bogle Road. So they have already agreed that they'll go ahead and move forward with signing that. What is holding us up? Hey, that would be 2 out of 3. What's holding us up now is a discussion or discussions that were previously had with the Kirstens on their property and what it is that we would be doing for them. So myself and our road commissioner, Travis Briggs, went down there and met with Mickey last week, I think, and talked about what it is that we need to do to adjust. Mickey's got a bit of a road that goes, for anyone who's not aware of the Kirsten's property, it's the one directly across the street, almost a little diagonal from the town office there on the north side of the bridge, where the bridge would be going over to Bogle Road. Mickey has right now a road that kind of goes down where he's able to park his utility trailers and get his equipment down to his backyard. Previously, we had promised Mickey that we would keep that type of scenario open for him so that he's not losing his ability to maneuver his equipment and materials and things. So basically what it was a discussion between myself and Travis and Mickey to say that Travis would be able to build a bit of a rock retention wall up from the river and fill that in almost to grade with where his trailers are parked now, so that he would have a different space to bring those trailers down around his house and park them. And apparently previous to my time at the town, promises were made to Mickey to pave that little section going down over to mitigate any drainage issues that could arise from changing all of the grade down to that little area. So we're literally just getting the pricing together now to kind of see what that looks like. If Mickey's happy with the with what we propose, then that'll go in front of the select board, and once approved by the select board and signed by Mickey, we can get that easement finalized and put together and really get this thing cooking. It's just the drag here has been getting those easements signed, because we can't hire the engineer back on until we have all the signed easements, and our friends at Fuss and O'Neill have been working pretty hard to make this happen. So we're we're still going, but those are the updates for now. Any questions on that process? All right. So moving right along, and we are ahead of schedule here. Good stuff. Been brought to our attention on more than one occasion that we are severely lacking in dog waste disposal units at our recreation venues. Okay. What that means is that there's currently on all the properties between Crosstown, well, the parking lot anyway that we help to manage, between Crosstown, Horace Hill, Dover, the Valley Trail and Dover Park, and the town forest, the only place to get and dispose of dog poop bags is in the park. You can get your bags there. You can then throw your bags away in one of the 3 trash cans located in the park. The issue is that, not everybody goes past the park twice, or, they want other places to throw the dog poop away. So Shannon and myself, well, Shannon did most of the digging for me and sent me a very informative, multiple page document about the dangers of dog poop in recreation areas. If anybody's looking for some light bedtime reading, it's stellar stuff. But we did come up, or Shannon found these receptacles, okay, to be used at a number of locations along the Valley Trail, as well as one for the Crosstown Trail parking lot and one for the town forest parking lot. As you can see, they're $269.99, and we would be paying an additional, I believe it's $14.99 each to put a small light on the top of them, so they're actually lit up a little bit at night for anyone who's using the trail after hours. Our initial thoughts were to put one between the church and town office building, to put one in the area of the Green Iron Bridge off of Route 100, so it's not entirely visible from Route 100, and then also one at the end of the trail where it terminates currently in the Dots, Mountain Park Plaza. So that's 3 there. We would be getting a 4th to put in the parking lot. Again, not right on the road where everybody has to stare at it, but in the parking lot at Crosstown, and one out of parking lanes up at the town forest. This is not necessarily, we're not really looking for recommendation from the Trails and Rec Committee, just because this is something that's, we have money set aside for in our budget, and we see the need for it. What we're looking for is any input anybody might have on the locations of those, or anything else. Kristen, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, because I see a lot of those on the Valley Trail, lots of poop bags which have not been picked up except by me. So I would suggest that we put one at both ends, not only on Handle Road, but also the one on the Country Club Road entrance.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying like right in the area of, do you think it would do you think it makes sense for us to move the one from the town office further north on 100 to that Country Club Road, or not?
I just think that's where I've seen, just personally, that's where I've seen a lot of it. It's people either, they either park on the Handle Road side, or they park on the Country Club Road side and take their dogs in from there. So somehow if there's one at both ends, like you said.
At Crosstown, you're saying.
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking Valley Trail. I'm like, what that doesn't go to Handle Road. So, okay. I understand what you're talking about now. So you want to see one on Country Club Road as well as up. Okay. All right. Other thoughts, questions, concerns?
And one more.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I'm just thinking of where I see people come on with their dogs. I don't know if we'd have to get approval to have that done as well at the entrance from Kingswood.
Yeah, we don't have. we would have to get permission from Kingswood, I believe, to install one there. And I guess I would want to speak to them to see how much of a problem they think it is right there. You know, whether or not it warrants us putting one there. You know, if there's enough traffic at the Kingswood entrance to warrant one, then, you know, it's something we can absolutely add on. I mean, they're not terribly expensive. My thought is I don't want to have so many that it, you know, like it's cluttered and looks, you know, not good, basically. You know what I'm saying? We just don't want to have too many of them. And that's why, you know, initially in our conversations, we had talked about like not having them right out on Route 100 where they're like, you know, visible to try, like cars driving by. Obviously the one between the town office and the church would be, you know, a little more visible, but even that would be set back off the trail and the road there. So you wouldn't see it a ton. And then the one obviously in the Dots parking lot, as well as the one at the Green Iron Bridge would definitely be off of Route 100. So just trying not to clutter too much. Okay, Kristen, you had another question.
I was just gonna say, maybe we can talk about that offline, just some ideas on that from other dog owners I know.
Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on that? We will be putting you know, a bit of a cost or basically just letting the select board know Tuesday night that we're going to go ahead and make that order. Shannon did price them out for a number of places, and Dog Waste Depot was our cheapest option. So that's this is literally exactly what they would be look like. And then there's a liner in the can as well as the bag dispenser station. So that's literally what you'd be seeing. We opted against, there were some that had an additional sign above the bags, but we thought that with the signs we currently have and the information on the kiosk itself, it's, you know, that's more than enough to let people know that we do expect them to be throwing their dog poop away. Kristen, you have your hand up again.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be all that's over here.
About dog poop. I don't even own a dog. The other thing is, how frequently would those be emptied? Because I think bears really love dog poop, and I would hate to see those bags get all dragged back into the woods from.
Yeah, no, we you know,
bear.
it's on a similar schedule to what the trash barrels at the park are emptied, and you know, we don't have a massive bear problem there, so I would not be as, you know, concerned. If it's something we see as a major concern once then they're installed, we would obviously alter the schedule to make sure that we minimize that as much as possible. Okay. Any other questions, comments? This will be on the agenda for this upcoming Tuesday's select board meeting. So if anybody has any harsh criticisms of the plan, by all means, feel free to join us and
just a note based on what you were just saying here. I know I understand the like desire to have them kind of set back and not like super, but as you're thinking about like as you decide like where they're actually going to go, just as long as they're not so far out back, they become useless, because then you just, so.
No, they will definitely be right on the trail and visible from the trail. But my main thing, like I said, is not like, you know, okay, we've got a 20-foot right away off the side of the road, like let's put it right there, you know, so like it's the first thing you see when you drive by. Like they will definitely be visible to anyone walking with a dog, but you know, not as visible to people driving by with a car.
That makes total sense. I've seen areas where they get put in places where they're like so far out of the way they just don't get used. So just made that note. That's all.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that with the areas that we had planned to put them, you know, I think you know, they'll definitely be seen and they'll definitely get used. I mean, if the bags are being used where they are located now in the park, then like these spots would be even more obvious than that. So they'll definitely get used, but I appreciate the feedback. All right. Any other questions? Perfect. So we are going to spend the next 17 minutes discussing Hathaway Trail and its potential uses. So Patricia, you had been in my office the other day and you did bring to my attention that you did go up the trail, and it did seem like there had been quite a bit of wheeled traffic and that it had torn the trail up pretty good, correct? Okay. You know, the more we talk about this and the more I receive feedback from people, the more apparent it is to me That they're just, it seems that the return on, keeping that road open and allowing that demographic of people to use it, in terms of them, staying in the valley for the weekend, or, patroning the restaurants or the stores and whatnot after they've gone up and down the trail, doesn't necessarily cover the cost of repairing the trail, every year or every 2 years. That's the feedback that I've received the most since we started having this conversation. Obviously we're not, willy-nilly shutting trails down to user groups in the town of Dover. It's not something that we take lightly. But it's something that, may have to be considered, when we're the ones footing the bill on an activity that, like I said, doesn't necessarily carry its own weight. Does anybody want to continue this conversation we've been having? Anybody have thoughts since the last time we spoke? Mark, I know you live on Hathaway, correct?
Yeah, so the entrance to my property is at the junction of Johnson Hill Trail and Hathaway Trail. And the property runs all the way south to the top of Someday. So it's a pretty long length of the trail. The four-wheelers are running late at night also, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, I can hear them. So in addition to clearing things up, they're creating a fair amount of noise nuisance.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the input. Kristen, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, this isn't really a new problem either. I know I haven't been out on that trail in 2 years, but 2 years ago, it wasn't passable even by bike. So forget about people trying to even hike on it. So it seems like it's environmentally, it's just not the best place for that kind of four-wheel vehicle, that kind of action to take place. It's just not designed for it. So
Yeah. And I think, another one of the concerns that's been expressed to me is, beyond the mud pits, once you're out on that trail, there's really only snowmobile bridges, not vehicle bridges, right? So when they do come to those bridges, they're then going down and through the river, which poses problems of its own, as opposed to, having a bridge to drive across. Now, I'm looking for input from any of my snowmobiling friends. I was having a conversation with someone who said, I said, this is sticky because if we gate our side, they can still come over from the Wardsboro side. To which I was informed that absolutely not, that portion has been chained off and gated off, and there's absolutely no way that they could be coming over the hill from the Wardsboro side. Any merit to those comments?
I think you can get there from Wardsboro. You can come in from the Cheney Brook entrance too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you could get there from the north side of Route 100 where our trail crosses by Triple Tree. You could go in that way. I don't know specifically about coming up from the Wardsboro side, but I think there are ways through there, especially for four-wheelers, maybe not as much trucks.
Okay. So my question here, right, is like, if we did make a decision to close, Hathaway from the trail entrance on our side, what exactly would we be accomplishing? Do they just find a way around that and get in anyway? And then we paid for a gate and to repair the trail again in 2 years.
Yeah, I think you would need a lot of gates to really do that off. You would probably need two at Mark's property, one on either side of his driveway, one at the main entrance to Hathaway Trail, Cheney Brook Trail.
Okay. So you're thinking, at minimum 3, you're saying?
Probably 4.
4.
But that's if we're blocking off the Cheney Brook Trail too. Then at that point, it's a different trail. I don't know if that would be a different discussion.
Well, okay. Okay, just because I'm not as familiar with Cheney Brook, are we talking about property, house owners and things there as well? Or is that a different type of situation than what we're looking at with Hathaway?
It's still a legal trail. It comes off of Valley View Road,
Okay,
and that goes past the Hathaway Trail and continues towards Wardsboro.
okay.
It's like where there's the sharp S corners are. There is like a little.
Yeah,
street
okay,
sign.
yep. No, I know exactly. Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. Okay. Sarah,
Is Hathaway Trail the only trail that's really getting chewed up? Or are all these other trails also suffering? Michael?
So sporadically, we get landowners that complain about, ATV traffic. It's never four-wheel drive traffic. Hathaway is getting the Jeeps and the real four-wheel drive, the Razors. The hardcore stuff is coming through Hathaway. We're in the process now of working with land. It doesn't happen nearly as much on the landowner properties as it does on Hathaway. That's number one. And we are at the moment working with landowners to put in gates on big fields and areas where, it's encroaching on our ability to handle this. It shouldn't be the snowmobilers' problems, but we've taken it as a way to reach out to our landowners and help them secure their properties.
So would it be possible how difficult would it be to gate off kind of the worst section, the section that's most being damaged by these things?
I think to put in the four, it's definitely 4 gates, if not 5. I don't think the cost would be phenomenal, and I think they'd be pretty easy to install. Again, we'd get a machine, pop them in, and it'd be done with.
Because I would trust your judgment. You're out on those trails probably more than the rest of us, right?
Yeah, as I said, to install the gates, I know they're doing it up in Wardsboro as we speak to try to handle it up there. And we're working with them to try to work through you to cut it off from our end. So, I mean, it's very doable. I don't know if we could, I guess we wanted to rush through it. We are going to have the machine there this year. So it would make sense to do it all, but now it's getting into our time. It would take a while to get to the 4 corners. You got to get the machine to the corners. It's an expense and a time thing, but it could be done.
If I may continue,
Sarah, go ahead.
Monopolizing. So, but this isn't also a problem we need to solve in one fell swoop, right? I mean, we put in what gates, or we ask the stump jumpers, put in what gates they can, and then continue to improve the situation as time, money, and need demands, right? I guess I was asking Michael that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so if I'm thinking about it right now, it would make sense to get 2 or 3 of the gates in right now when we have the machine there, and then next year when the machine's in a different spot, because to move the machine is costly when it's a half a mile away from where we're doing work, and then having to get it to where it is. But definitely at the bottom of Hathaway, really the bottom of Hathaway is and the 2 on Johnson Road would make sense because that's where the machine's going to be.
Okay.
And
Eric, I got a couple questions.
yeah, hold on. I have Kristen, but Sarah, were you all set?
I was just going to say if maybe Michael could get together with Eric and figure out how to write a proposal for this so that we can get it to the select board.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna get, thank you, Sarah. I'm gonna get Kristen and then Paul, and then I have a comment, and then we'll cross that bridge in just a second here. Kristen, you're up.
Yeah, I guess the reason I was thinking on the gates, and Mike, they're probably just like the gates that are on Crosstown Road now, right? Just enough so that a vehicle can't actually plow through and get onto the road. Something simple like that.
So, I mean, there are a couple of options. We could narrow the trails so only snowmobiles could get through and cars couldn't. You could do that with boulders. or we could, the gate that's at Crosstown is a real heavy duty gate. That's expensive. That's a
Yeah.
metal gate. We wouldn't probably get something that expensive.
Yeah, and I don't know that we want to go that route just because if those road or if those legal trails did need access from search and rescue vehicles or fire vehicles or something like that, like I don't want to limit the ability of a full-size vehicle should the need arise getting up there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was just kind of trying to figure in my head what they might look like. And then the other thought was, if you put a gate, if you only do like one at a time and then you kind of shift off that project, couldn't it be that somebody gets on and then gets stuck and then is trying to turn around and then is totally ripping up the trail again as they're trying to get back out the way they came in?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely potential for that to happen, I would think. I don't know that there's like one fell swoop to fix the whole issue. You know what I mean, Mike? If I'm wrong, correct me.
I don't think we should be thinking about it as a 1 or 2 year thing. What we're trying to do is set a precedent for 5, 10, 20 years down the road, and think of everything long term and what's happening in town and how these trails are getting abused.
Yep, I agree. And Paul, go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. I have 2 questions. So the first one I think is probably for you, Eric, or maybe Sarah and the select board. If we were to put in gates and, and segregate off these trails, what happens with people whose properties, their backyards go to the trail? Are they also not allowed to ride their ATVs back there? So is the town going to write an ordinance or, something that prohibits it? Or is it just the gates for people who are visiting?
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it from a landowner perspective. My main issue was cutting down on, again, the visitors, who are coming in for the day, tearing the road up and then leaving.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I have a preference there, but I just want to be aware, a lot of the valley or the Cheney Brook Trail and a little bit of Hathaway, there are houses that are there where the backyard is right up against it.
Yeah.
So people own wheelers and whatever. So you just got to know if you want them out there or you don't.
Yeah. Sarah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Michael, if I understand you right, the ATVs are an issue, but not nearly the issue that the trucks and Jeeps. Am I right?
That's what I hear from the people, but you can ask the people that live on Hathaway. You have 2 people in the meeting right now that live on Hathaway. They can tell you what's up there.
Yes, sir. I mean, I can tell you, my backyard's on Hathaway. I live on Blue Brook, but I'm looking at Hathaway right now. And there's ATVs. What Mark is saying, I see the same thing. I think, and I don't want to guide the discussion, but I think what we're talking about is these strings of, Land Rovers and Jeeps and Tread Lightly who gives tours and it becomes a big traffic issue. I think that's really more what we're focused on. Although, I mean, Mark's right that, there's ATVs at odd hours that make noise. That's also true.
Whoa. Okay. Mark.
So I just want to state.
I just want to point out, I still have a second question, unless we're still talking about.
You did say you had to. Mark, give me 1 second. I'll get right back to you. Okay. And we're gonna go a little quicker here because we don't want to be too much past 7:30. Paul, go ahead.
Sure. This is a quick question just from Matt for the sump jumpers. So that mud pit that we've talked about is currently the hindrance to, like I said, the Range Rovers and the Jeep tours going through. So Matt, as the sump jumpers do that work with the machine, what work, if any, are you going to be doing on that mud pit?
We were talking about how we're going to fill that in with material. It's obviously a swamp on both sides of that. We might need to put a culvert in there because there's wetlands on either side of it. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, that mud pit is really what's been stopping those tours and the Land Rovers are coming through. If that becomes passable, that opens up the trail to this traffic we've talked about.
Yeah, that's definitely the worst spot on the trail. There's two mud holes, and that's definitely the worst one out there.
Well, I mean, Lenny said it doesn't affect grooming, in the snow season. It's just a summertime problem.
I think the hope, Paul, is that we would have the plan to mitigate the traffic in there, as they were going to do those repairs anyway, if they're not going until October or September Hopefully we'd have a plan in place and some gates ready to go in, kind of in conjunction with those repairs, so that it's not like we repair the mud pit and then have them running over it for 6 months before we put any gates in. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
I think
cool.
I think that's kind of the way this conversation is leaning right now. I have Mark and then Sarah and then Patricia. Mark, go ahead.
So you all who have lived here much longer than I have probably know this, but there's a family that has a number of camps north of me on Hathaway Trail that have they will occasionally drive not just their ATVs but their pickups. So that's just something that when you are designing gates to keep in mind.
Okay, Sarah.
Paul, you asked about landowners who have direct access from their property. Do we have any sense of how many people we're talking about?
I mean, I could guess if you're talking about just my understanding is the loop that's currently legal for, road vehicles, street legal vehicles to go on is from the Cheney Brook entrance up towards Hathaway Trail, back past Mark's house, and then out on the road that's Hathaway Trail. I think it's just that loop, if I remember correctly. And I would, there's some houses that are up on Valley View and on Cricket Lane. I'd say maybe 5, 10, a dozen houses, 20, somewhere in that range. Anybody else have a better guess than that?
It's a number that would allow us to communicate directly with those property owners if we needed to.
Yeah, and the mapping side will make it obvious. You can easily identify who that list is, that finite list is. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Patricia?
Yeah, I didn't really have a question. It was just when Allison and I went from the Johnson Hill Road to what I picture might be Mark's property is maybe below that. There was, besides the really big spot, we counted 5, including the big one, where it's like, the bog and ripped up. But yeah, what we concluded was that it was mostly like tire width of trucks and not necessarily ATVs. I don't even know how an ATV could have gotten through the really bad spot, seriously. So yeah, no questions, just wanted to make that comment that it was mostly trucks, or things like that, Jeepy things.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, Mark, last one, and then
Yeah, just really quickly. I have pulled twice. I've pulled Green Mountain Power trucks out of that really nasty mud hole. So they do transverse that area as well.
what do they have for services up? I mean,
I couldn't tell you.
yeah, okay.
I'll run into them and they're stuck.
Okay. So I think, like Sarah said, Mike, do you possibly have time this month to talk with me and we can at least get some preliminary kind of numbers together on, hey, we think we should do boom, boom, and boom this year. And we can bring that back to the group as we continue this conversation. And what I really want to focus on for next month's conversation, and we can pull on, again, anybody who's not here having this conversation with us, like, please let them know that this is something we're talking about, because I don't want to get to the end of this thing and make a recommendation to the select board and then have 20 people come out of the woodwork and be like, why wasn't I invited to come talk about this? Because I just, like, knowing exactly who should be involved in the conversation every time is not, it's not an easy thing to do. So if you know of anybody who should be here, or at least can share the information with them, please do so. But I think the route we're going to take right now is I'll put my head together with Mr. Garber. We'll come up with a tentative plan and some rough pricing to put in front of you guys. But what I really want to focus on next month is, if we go ahead and gate those trails, what are we doing with those gates? Are they closed are they closed and only when there's not snow on the ground, or what does that look like, in terms of the schedule for those gates being open and things like that. So just consider those types of questions over the next month, and we'll continue this conversation at our next meeting. Okay. Our next meeting will take place on Wednesday, July 12th. Again, that's second Wednesday of the month.
Tuesday.
What? Oh, Tuesday. Sorry,
Tuesday.
I was thinking housing. Tuesday, July 12th. Second Tuesday of the month. So please, if you have any agenda items, please have them to us the first week of July, and I will make sure to get them onto the agenda. And any questions on anything we've talked about or could potentially be talking about, please reach out to me in the meantime. Okay, anybody have anything else they need to say before we go? Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. I just need a motion to adjourn. Sarah makes a motion, second. Do we need a second? Patricia seconds. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We will see you next month.